So good to meet you all. I'm Ronnie. I'm the co-founder of ClarityQ. ClarityQ brings GenAI to data and product teams. And we thought it would be interesting to talk today about building a product for product, what worked well, what doesn't work well. Now, it's going to be a quite technical, technological session, just because it's AI. I'm the least technical person in the company, so I think it's the amount that we can grasp. If there's something that I will not know how to answer, I'll ask my other co-founders. So let's start by sharing a bit about myself. Let's see if this works. Yes, okay, a bit about me. I studied at NYU, Finance and International Business. Then typically I went to consulting. I worked for Bearing Point for consulting, which used to be KPMG Consulting. Then after 5 years in New York, decided it was time to do something new. And I joined Benny Landa. He's the father of digital printing. And I had business development for 6.5 years, from when we were 15 people to when we were 300 people in the company. I was part of the management team. And then I decided, okay, it's enough. I want to start something of my own. We just raised 100 million euros. And I said, okay, let's raise $1 million. And I met my co-founder. The day I left Landa was the day I met Orly, my co-founder, and we started our first startup called SafeDK. Typical journey, ups, downs, raising funds, building teams, not sleeping at night. And eventually, our story ended up very well, and we sold the company to Palo Alto-based AppLovin. You need luck to get acquired by as well, and we were lucky enough to get acquired by Adam and the team. After that, we stayed at AppLovin. Orly and I became Orly is my co-founder. We stayed co-GMs of AppLovin Israel. We built new products. Then we said, okay, 3.5 years, something started to bubble again. And it's like being an entrepreneur is something you can't stop yourself. You have this feeling, you got to go for it. So we went for it again. We built some products on the way. And after a while, we said, okay, we know what we want to fix. And that's when we started ClarityQ. I have 2 amazing co-founders, Orly, which I just mentioned, and Adi, he's our 3rd co-founder and the CTO. And we built ClarityQ. We're a total of 13 people currently. But with all the AI that we're using, it's like an army of, 100 people, the amount of work they can do. So why GenAI? Why we decided to focus on it. So we've been building product for 5 years. It was part in AppLovin and afterwards. And I was always reliant on data. It doesn't matter whatever I wanted to do. Was it understanding what works better, the user journey, a slide for the board? I was always dependent on my analysts. And my analysts were amazing, but they were always busy. So I had to prioritize. Okay, do I want this slide, or should they continue working on these dashboards? Do I want this? And eventually, either there were huge delays in making decisions, or even worse, making non-data related decisions. Okay, I feel that this will work. Not the right way to work, but there was no other way to do it, because we wanted to make decisions, we wanted to move. So sometimes we were reliant on our analysts, and it was just a bottleneck, unfortunately. And they hated when we came to them, just one question Friday evening. So we said, okay, is it just us? Are we doing something wrong? And we started talking to the market. And we said, okay, it's not just us. There's a real pain that we want to solve. So we said, okay, before we fall in love with the idea, and the first time you're an entrepreneur, you can fall in love with the idea and run for it. The second time is just horrible, because you find reasons why not to go for your love. But we did a survey. We talked to 60 people on this survey, and we asked them, and we saw that there is a real pain, and that there's a need that we want to fix. And we asked them a question: how many people thought there were hidden insights in their data that they did not know about? And it was astonishing that everybody knows that there is insights within their data and they don't know about, yet there's as much as you can do with data. So 40% said they strongly agree, 60% they agree, 60% said they strongly agree. And we asked them, okay, what type of, that's insights, but what kind of questions do you ask during the day? And they give questions like, how many users drop off during my onboarding process, segmented by country, by device? They were asking about cohorts. I'm seeing you're nodding because we all ask these questions. And it's the basic things that we want to know. And unless we have a perfect dashboard for it, we always need another question and another thing. So these are the type of questions, A/B testing, adoption rate. And we said, OK, this is what we want to solve. Now, what is the data challenge? First of all, companies store a lot of data. They have huge amount of data, and they can't even start by, they don't even start to analyze what they have there, because it's such a huge amount of data. They have many dashboards. Some of them are dashboards that just stay there forever and die slowly. But there is a lot of data, and we're not using it enough. Limited access. So we have analysts. They know SQL. They build us great dashboards, but they are the only ones that can speak to the data. And the last thing is that, as we talked before, insights are locked away. They're somewhere there. If you can take in your brain, think of all the things you can connect together, and you might find insights, but they're limited. It's difficult to find insights. And we said, OK, this is what we want to solve. And then came GenAI, suddenly a technology that is mind-blowing. We never liked, Orly and I didn't like cyber. It wasn't our thing. Bitcoin wasn't our thing. Suddenly GenAI came and he said, OK, a technology that we think will change the world. Little did we know how much it would change the world. But we wanted to take GenAI and AI and fix product analytics. And the idea was to democratize access. So not only analysts will talk to the data, but also product managers and game owners and managers, CEOs, chairmen, whomever it is can talk to their data. Make it accessible in terms of conversational analytics. We all talk to ChatGPT. We all talk to Claude, whomever it is. You can talk to whomever it is, and you can now talk to your data. And lastly was to bring real-time insights. Suddenly, there's no limit to what you can do. So the first thing people told us, oh, so I can use ChatGPT. Why do we need a solution dedicated for product analytics? And the thing is that we were really scared at the beginning of this question. But then we figured out, no, you can't use ChatGPT. You can't use other things, just because there are so many missing pieces on the way. For example, the first thing, and the most important thing, is the context. Context, understanding what each event, what each table, the semantics of the product. Unless you understand it, you won't be able to give a right answer. So that is the key to everything, and we're going to talk about context. And we talked about it a bit before, about how context in any AI product matters. So it matters in data very much. The second thing is that analysts like a dedicated UI. ChatGPT isn't the right way to talk to your data if you're an analyst. Hallucinations. We all talk about hallucinations. Data is important to us. We don't want to make the wrong decisions based on wrong insights. So that is another problem. When you work with, say, ChatGPT, you have ongoing data updates. So you need to run after the data and make sure the data is correct and that you're connected well and everything. And also, the AI models themselves change. So you need expertise about what's working, what's not working. OK, let's say Sonnet works well for this, and OpenAI works best for that. So that's extremely important. So the first approach we took to our solution, and what you're seeing here is our conversational AI, was we're going to build chain of agents, multi-agent process that will solve our problems. Okay, the idea is you ask a question, and then we will have different agents, and each one is in charge of something. So the first phase is, the first one is in charge of building the SQL, getting the context, building the SQL, and giving you an answer with visuals. Then there is another one that understands, the second agent understands if it's a question you're supposed to answer. So is it ambiguous? What's the weather? Am I supposed to answer it or not? What is best for user? What does that mean? which KPI and metrics we're exactly talking about. So that's the second agent. And the third one, which I always find super interesting, is the validation, accuracy validation. How do we know that we give you the right answer? So there are different agents, different types of agents that, for example, common sense. If it gives you an answer of the amount of people that did X, but the amount of the people in the country are less than that, that doesn't make sense. Or devil's advocate, you tell it, no, it's not correct. Let's see what the agent will tell us back. And self-consistency, we run the question time and again and see if we get the same answer every time. So that was the first approach we took. And as I mentioned before, context is king. That's the most important thing. We wanted to make sure that we understand what exactly our product, not our product, but the user's product does. So we built a table catalog that understands each column within the table. What does it mean? What does it refer to? An event catalog. The event catalog takes every event and understands if the user has like event data, we will upload it. But usually what happens is nobody has documentation. So what we do is we suggest, we take all the events and the parameters and the values, we combine them and we suggest what does this event mean. We derive context from existing solutions. If you have Tableau, Looker, whatever it is, we connect and we understand exactly what's happening there. Old queries, like the query history of the customer. That's great to understand the small tweaks that we need. Eventually, we take all this, and yes, there is still human in the loop here, because it's not magical and you can't do it all by yourself. So we have people in our company that tie all these things together, and we provide the semantic catalog as well in order to understand the context of the product. That's key to understand. So this is what we did. We built all these components to get to our first solution that was launched in January, 6 months ago. Now what we see here, I wonder if I need to go here. This is our ClarityQ 1.0, just so we can talk about it and what didn't work here. Although it's amazing, I love it. Okay, 1 second. I'm trying to do something. Okay. Okay, so what you see here are predefined questions. This is our dashboard. You can choose date, filters, etc. We asked which countries have over 1,000 installs, have high usage and low revenue per user. So what happens now? In 1.0, it goes, it understands if it needs to answer the question, is it relevant, goes, builds the SQL. We're connected to the data warehouse of the customer. We run the SQL, we check the SQL, all the agents that we talked about that need to validate that the SQL is correct and the answer makes sense. And while we wait here, it does all these things and will bring us back the information needed. You see, we got a table and a graph, and we wanted very much, transparency was always important to us. So we wanted to show users the transparency of the SQL itself, what we did. Analysts can fix it if they want. Methodology, I think we can, and a graph. Okay, this is what we provide. Like every AI, you can do thumbs up, you can do thumbs down. We learn from your experience, from what you think worked, what you think didn't work. You can send it to an analyst for review. Perfect. We saw users starting to use it. They enjoyed it. They used the event catalog, which we just talked about with our suggestions, the table catalog. Now, the feedback we got from customers is, wow, this is great. But there's always a but. And it's really important to understand what the but is. What takes them the wrong way? What do you need to fix in your product? And here we had the great opportunity of combining two things together. Amazing technology, because technology let us do 2.0. Okay. So this is what we had. This is the solution. We looked at all the literature that is to read about how to build AI agents, what's the best way to do it, and wow, we were aligned with all the state of the art. We knew that we were doing the right thing. This is research that our AI expert did, and we were sure we were on a roll, and then we said, okay, the reality. Things that we did not think about and we did not understand with the solution. Now, we were in love with it. Don't take me the wrong way, and we are still in love with it. But we said we have an agent that asks questions and get answers, and we thought users will ask product questions. But apparently users will ask anything. They do not care what you meant. They will ask anything. The first question a user ever asked was, what's best for a user? I don't know how to answer that. How would you know how to answer something like that? Users hate to wait, so we waited a bit till the answer happened. They prefer 2 minutes get them agitated for a question that would take an analyst 2 days to get to them. But it just drove them crazy, just seeing and not understanding what's happening. Just sitting and looking at the bouncing ball, and we said, okay, we'll put nice animation. Doesn't help. They want to see what's happening behind the scene. No one likes onboarding. We talked about the event catalog, the table catalog, everything. Users don't like onboarding, and we try to minimize, but it started with a month of onboarding, which is quite a lot for a solution you want to use tomorrow. Great explainability and transparency is a must. If you don't understand the answer, you won't be able to fix it. And there is no forgiveness for inaccuracy. You give wrong answers. And it's interesting, by the way, because we were expecting that users are accustomed to using ChatGPT, which gives them sometimes things that are wrong, and you tell them, no, you're wrong, and they say, oh, you're right, I apologize, and fixes it. Not with data, not with analytics. Nobody wants to forgive you for giving them the wrong numbers. So what we saw is, we understood what the downside of agentic AI is, of a multi-agent product is. Too high level, the answers come up too late. Limited question scope. So what we said was, just ask about product. But then user says, okay, can I have a CSV on that? Can you do reverse the graph? Can you change the color? And that does not work if you have a product that is just single track to answer specific questions. And there was a trade-off between user experience and accuracy. Because if I run the question more times, do more things on it, more maneuvering on it, that would be great. But the user wants answers, and they want it now. So we had all or nothing accuracy. We had to run after our prompt all the time. We fixed something, it messed up something else. And the problem was, eventually, the users felt bad that they didn't get answers while they were using the solution. They did not get feedback. They were just waiting, and nobody wants to wait. These are just 2 examples written in blood. The first one was a question that one of our customers said, what was the best performing Super Bowl article during the last 24 hours? And our system took it wrong. It didn't understand that it needed to look at the tag of Super Bowl and not just Super Bowl in the title. And it gave the number 2, which was extremely low and didn't make any sense, so at least the user knew it was inaccurate. But if we were to tell them, okay, this is what I'm looking for, I'm looking at just the titles that have Super Bowl, it could have told me, like with an analyst, it would have told me, no, I meant the article itself is on Super Bowl, but we did not catch it. The other one is, how do users feel about our UI? Don't know how to answer that. I don't have access to direct user feedback or sentiment data. So we didn't know exactly how to deal with questions that weren't specifically for us. So we moved to agentic flow. Agentic flow is, and by the way, I'll stop just for a moment, because just making the decision of moving from multi-agent architecture to agentic flow is a huge decision, because you take a lot of code you wrote and you chuck it, and it breaks your heart, but you understand if this is the right thing, this is what you need to do. And at any point of the company, you need to think, okay, is the team now working on the most important thing that will generate revenue, that will give a better product to the users? So we said, okay, let's try a POC. Let's see how it works, and then we decide. Then we decide if we go for this angle or not. After a week of POC, just the first signs, we knew that this was the way to go. It was a single conversation. So we have one agent that sends different tools, and each tool does something else. But the context stays the same context. It's the same agent that understands exactly what's happening. It understands the big picture. It can do complex queries. There's long horizon that it can do. It can think about things, check, go back. It's very different, a very different process. We start by showing a plan. What are we thinking about? What are we planning to do? So the user can actually look at it and say, okay, this is not what I wanted, and stop it and say, okay, I want it just like talking to an analyst. And even an analyst can use it for their purposes. So the dynamic tool execution, the semantic layer, we added a searchable way. You'll see it shortly, a way to look at the semantic catalog and just search it as you wish and get more accurate responses. And we introduced builders. We talked about onboarding, builders that you can build your process and your work while you work with the system. So we went from advanced prompt engineering and RUG to context engineering. That was the biggest shift of the product. And again, all the time thinking about that our users are product managers and what would they do differently. So I'll just show you this. You can compare between the two. We'll talk about it soon. OK, so it's the same question. Nothing changed. Again, you can change your filters, whatever you want, different version, different country, different whatever. And then we start running the question. And as I mentioned, the first thing we do is share what we're thinking about. So it says, OK, the user wants to identify countries that have over 1,000 installs, high usage, and low revenue per user. And it says here, OK, I know to go to the semantic catalog and find these things. Now, if it didn't have these things, it would tell me, OK, what do you mean by install? What do you mean? It would have asked for it. Now, you see it goes to install users. It looks at the catalog at all these things. It understands it's looking at the right things. And then it's executing the SQL. Now it's writing the SQL when it knows that it's looking at the right things. And you see it's running the SQL. Again, the same as before. You see the SQL. You get the table of all the information. You can expand it. And, of course, you can view the code. And if it's an analyst, they have the ability to edit it in case something doesn't work, if something's off, and they can run it on their own. And the system will learn from their fixing the query. And think about it that until this point, for example, until the graphs came up, we were waiting in the previous version. Now we just got this. We're looking at the information, and the graph will show us exactly what's coming up soon. But it's starting its analysis. It talks about the opportunity, notable markets, key insights, and the graph looks differently. You can see here that you can look at, the combined score of installations of ARPU versus time spent versus revenue, usage analysis, revenue analysis. Suddenly, it all comes to life. And technology was able to give us the opportunity to do this because a lot of things have changed, and GenAI is changing. And you can always ask for follow-up questions and see. You can continue the conversation as if it were an analyst. Here, we won't stay to look at that, but anything in the data that can indicate why there is low revenue in India. And it does a whole analysis about this topic. Just a sec. So this, we talked about it, but just so you see it, this is one next to the other comparison. Now, on the one side, you think, OK, shorter is better, but users really want the information. And especially when it's product and it's data and it's super sensitive to everyone, because the last thing you want to do is put on a board in your board meeting the wrong numbers or make decisions based on wrong numbers. So you see exactly here the uses and revenue by country. You see key insights, which we didn't have here. The bottom line, what's happening. And of course, in both options, we always gave the ability to fix queries. Because sometimes there are things in the data that none of us know but the analysts. So sometimes you need to fix it. But you see, the difference was across the board between 1.0 and 2.0. So what we figured out from the move from multi-agent to agentic flow, higher accuracy. It's not just accuracy in the high level, but as long as the user can see what you did wrong, that's OK. Because if they say, OK, you looked at Super Bowl in the title instead of Super Bowl in the tag, OK, that's fine. I can fix it as you go along. Transparency. We show everything. There is no hidden anything. There's no black box. Users can just use it and enjoy it. It was nice, by the way, that we had a user that we sent him something and we said, no, but start using the solution next week. And he couldn't help himself. He was just asking questions and asking questions. And I said, okay, mission accomplished. That worked. Interactive. It's very easy to correct, modify, broader question coverage. Insights and visualization is super important. We're all visualization people, especially product, and it was a game changer in this way. So how do we address the agentic flow? Okay, how did we address the pains that we talked about before with the agentic flow? Users will indeed ask anything. One agent knows it all. It can deal with any question they ask. If we don't have the data, it will tell it doesn't have the data. If it asks something that, what is best for user, it will know how to guide them. Did you mean best in terms of revenue, this, that? It can do that. Users hate to wait. That's why the streaming works much better. They do something. They look at data. They look at something. It's not just waiting. Nobody likes onboarding, so we're building builder tools so they can, okay, what is ARPU? I don't know what is ARPU. Define ARPU. Done. It's there. So it doesn't need to be just every time an effort of the onboarding. Users will be able to talk and build the product as they go along. Explainability and transparency are a must. That's what we just saw, that answering process and logic behind every step is super important. And the no forgiveness for accuracy, breaking down questions to sub-questions, and we see out-of-the-box accuracy already working better. And just because of the mechanism, not even things that we did, just because we built it a certain way, it works well. Now, final thoughts. When I was thinking about what were the key takeaways, I actually like the last one best, but I will start with GenAI is a super powerful tool. If you're not using it, you got to start using it. If you're not using it much, you got to use it a lot, no matter what. But you need to make sure it's looking at the right data, no matter what the context is, again, because the semantics, the structure, everything is crucial to get reliable answers. So no matter what your field is, it goes super, for us, it's extremely important. But again, it's, don't think, okay, I'll just plug it in, I'll play around with it and it will work. You're gonna be heartbroken. Accuracy and transparency aren't a luxury in analytics. You have to be. We were once asked, oh, is 70% good enough? And we said, no, 70% isn't good enough. We want every choice, every solution, every answer to be the right answer. Designed for curiosity, users will surprise you, and they keep on surprising us. What is common in whatever? Yeah, always something special. Build experiences that improve through use, just like your users, so they advance, they add more data, they do more things. Help them out with that. And lastly, build products you wish you had. And that's one of the key takeaways. And I can tell you the entire team works with it. We have a dashboard on ClarityQ that we ask questions about ClarityQ, because you can't build something that you're not in love with. And that you don't want to use. If you don't want to use it, you're in problem. You have a problem. That's it. Thank you very much. Any question? Yes.
Hi, Ronnie. Thank you for your talk. It was super, super interesting. And thank you for reiterating on the importance of context. I feel like we're kind of missing that in many cases. My question is about the importance of accuracy. You keep on mentioning that you improved in it in version 2. I'm wondering if you're using any evaluation frameworks for that, and if so, can you talk more about that?
Well, that is a great question. We built our own valuation tools. We took it from 1.0, and it's the same one for 2.0. But we have data sets that check the accuracy and compares and does a lot of the AI team does a lot of things behind the scene to be able to compare, because any version, any change you do, if it's in a prompt, if it's in an agent, whatever it is, you have to quantify, did it make better or worse? So we built all these in-house because you have to have data sets and the ability to similarity between answers and the like. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for the talk. I think it was really interesting, kind of the breakdown of having users start to build out the onboarding in some ways through use. What if different users disagree on the semantics of what should happen in a different situation? How do you handle
So each one gets boxing gloves, and they will fight it off. It's a very good question, and the way we see it with our customers, there's one person that they're the authority of how you calculate it, because different groups have the way they look at it, but it's their opportunity to fix it and look at the daily active user. Another thing that you'd think is common across everyone, no, it's not, but they find a way to either make it work the same way, or each team will have their own dedicated semantic catalog and everything. Yeah, they will have their own with their tables, and it will be like two different companies in that meaning. Yeah.
Related to that question, I think it's very interesting that you also mentioned that there's a little bit of a Wizard of Oz, which is very common in companies as well to do custom setup for bigger organizations. My question would then be, how do you do the consultative approach to make sure that the context that you build for those clients is what they need for the tool to work in the way that they need? Is it a lot of consulting, or is it a lot of importing information and combing through it so that you get to that?
That's a very good question. So at the beginning, and I said the original onboarding was about a month, because it was a lot of work and a lot of work on our end to understand the context. And as soon as the event and table catalog are pretty easy to put together, and we connect to their Tableau or Looker, that's super helpful. So we don't need to talk to them. Their queries tell us exactly what we need to do, or their query history, or if they work with some kind of notebook, all these things. And then we don't need to talk to them. The good thing is, once they start asking questions, the model learns very quickly. So for example, if we had a customer that every query you had to add post page isn't equal to null. So 2 questions, we figured it out.
So to clarify then, like you're getting an initial set of context from their data, without talking to them, but doing a little bit of human in the loop,
Yes.
behind the scenes.
Yes.
And then it learns on its own with a little bit of also management from their own.
Yes, exactly.
Good, thank
Yeah,
you very much.
sure. Yes.
I'm curious, it's great, we're working on similar things in different fields, so we can talk about details, but I guess the thing I'm most curious about is the data warehouse comes from Looker or Tableau, lives in Clarity. How do you work with product positioning for the fact that they're all building the same thing you're building on their side towards you? Is there connections back in? Do you do dashboard creation so you can use Clarity to enrich Tableau? Or I'm just wondering, how are you gonna?
Okay, that's a very good question. So we don't send it back to them, to Tableau, but we do connect to Tableau and the others. We get the SQLs and the data behind it of how they calculate things. But on our end, we build the dashboards. You didn't see it here, but we are building dashboards as well. And the idea is that if until now you need for every analysis to build a new dashboard and a new thing, now you just ask questions and you get it here. So we don't send it back. We will have the area of dashboards. It's bugging us that we still don't have it. But they won't build new, they might build for longer term things in Tableau, but shorter terms will be here.
So like your customers that are using Clarity are going to be product people and analysts.
Yes.
So the analysts will go, they're working in Tableau, but they're sick of trying to explain to the product person how to do the same thing they're normally doing, and they say, just go to Clarity and do it.
Yeah, it's either just do it in Clarity or they do it, just because building dashboards, no matter what solution it is, it's a lot of manual work. And we shorten that, because SQL isn't something that analysts want to do. It's just a language. It's like anything else. So the idea is that they can use ClarityQ. They don't need to write the SQL. They'll get it. And then if they need the iterations, the small things that only they know, they can fix it. Yes.
How do you look, or are you involved in the instrumentation side of things as, become data coming in, junk out, right, garbage out? Are you involved in that consultative process at all on the instrumentation of the product that you're looking at?
So you mean the tables that come, the quality of events?
Actually, the sourcing of the event data itself is like, if you have an app, when the user visits this screen or presses that button, do you get involved in that instrumentation side?
I see.
Because it's so critical to have that right before you start looking at data.
Yes, so we are not involved in the instrumentation, but what we do is then the event catalog, for example, if suddenly you have a new version and an event disappears, we will alert you on that. Because we don't know why, or there's a new event, we will pop that up. But in the instrumentation itself, we're not involved, but we alert you on things that aren't normal within your data. Yes?
Just related to what he was asking, right? Could you perhaps walk us through what onboarding at the organizational level looks like for a tool like Iterate? I know you touched upon the end-user levels and how it's previously. What does it look like at the
Do you mean in the organization and in the company that we're working with?
Or say one of your customers
Yes.
is deploying a tool like Clarity. How do they go from 0 to 1 and to the point of actually getting insights? What does that process do?
Okay, so it really depends on the company and how they're sensitive and what type of, sometimes they want a POC because they've never tried something like this before. So they want a POC on a specific amount of tables, or we have a customer that wanted a POC on only 30 tables, which is quite a lot of information. So what we do is they tell us, okay, we ask for read-only permissions because that helps them a lot with everything that they're worried about. I think when we were, the company was 6 months old, we had SOC 2 already, just because we knew that that was a need as well. And then we get read-only, and we send them, okay, just throw at us any documentation you have, anything you have, and any connections that we can do, and that's it. The next thing is a bit clarifications once a week, and then we shoot it to them. And we always tell them, listen, the more you use, the better the solution is. It's not magic. It doesn't work like magic. You need to use it, and we will learn how to address, but we do it quite quickly.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Ronnie, for the presentation. I am myself a product analyst from past 5 years, so I can see the challenges that you were facing. So I just have one question. The data cannot be obviously, you have so many proxies that you have to take. So does the product consider that in mind, that data cannot be clean at times, how to deal with those situations?
Yes, so you're completely correct. There are always things that change in version 6.5.2, and from there they calculate it differently. So yeah, we need that feedback from the team. We sometimes see it from from the query history, and it pops up, and the team knows to ask, okay, what happened here? But without, that's exactly the points where we need help of analysts, and that's why we really like working with analysts. And a lot of our users started being analysts and not product, although we started with product managers. A lot of them are analysts that enjoy using it, as said. Yes?
I have 3 parts to my question.
Okay, because it's the last question he just marked, so you have 3 parts for the one question.
One, does ClarityQ approach, well, what is your ICP as far as organizations that you're selling into? And then assuming that if you are typically oriented towards the enterprise, there are 2 observations in my question. So the first one is that how, as a product in this market, in this time, face and defend against the competitive threat of the tableaus, of the lookers, incorporating this type of functionality and kind of getting squeezed from all sides as an early stage startup. And then the second, in terms of your product strategy, increasingly CISOs and folks at enterprise organizations are concerned with security and zero-copy architecture, and how do you eliminate some of the redundancies as you're trying to navigate not only against the product teams that you're selling into, but also against the CTO, the CISOs and CTOs that you're selling into, and their kind of operational mandate as well.
Okay. So now I will try to remember all 3 questions. But the first thing about ICP.
Another talk on this, by the way. Amazing question.
Amazing questions. Yeah, I agree with you. So the ICP, we started with B2C companies, mid to large companies that have a lot of data and a lot of need. But then we started getting requests from B2B companies as well, because the need, and suddenly something is shifting within analytics that everybody's looking at data, which is wonderful. So we started with B2C, we started with gaming companies, with e-commerce, things that I know they don't sound similar, but they all have a lot of data, and we have vertical knowledge within them. So we started there. We started only with product, but now it's also analysts and data teams and whomever it is. Regarding your second question, exactly. So the thing is that we go back to context, and understanding the context is something that is super hard, and we haven't seen anyone do it. And the connectivity and all the IP that we put in order to make it something that is extremely defendable for us, that is what we're focusing on. And we see that if you ask in other solutions questions in natural language, you will get generic answers. It's not what you're looking for. And that's why we have customers that are using ClarityQ, and that's why we think it is extremely, and we keep an eye on everyone, don't get me wrong, but we think that it's a big differentiation there. And the third one, sorry, I forgot the third one.
Was around the prominence of conversations around security.
Oh, yes.
The architecture, and so in addition to the competitive threat of differentiation, now how do you, as a small startup, get a product strategy when it comes to reducing redundancy to other tools like Tableau or Looker that may deliver an inferior product, but
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, we have SOC 2. We do all the things that are to checklist that will be easier. We use, if the customer, usually the big ones have their own API for, let's say, ChatGPT or something of that sort. For OpenAI, we will use their API, which will make it easier for them to trust. And because we are read-only, that is also helpful. So the first time we had to pass security was hell, sorry. But then it just improves over time. And because my third co-founder came from a security company, then we feel comfortable with that. But thank you. I think that's it.